Thank you very much, Jeremy. It's a pleasure to be here today. Indeed, I can still remember the day that the Arab Peace Initiative was adopted unanimously 10 years ago, on a Thursday, the 28th of March, 2002. But let me give you maybe a bit of a history of why the Arab Peace Initiative came about. And I'm sure Tom also has his own account post-September 11 of the need by Saudi Arabia to push the peace process forward. But the basic idea behind the Arab Peace Initiative was that Arabs felt, not all Arabs, but certainly the Saudis, us in Jordan, felt that neither side could give what the other side wanted or needed. And that as long as negotiations were taking place between the Palestinians and the Israelis alone, that there were things that the Palestinians needed from the Israelis that the Israelis could not give, and vice versa. And therefore, the whole idea behind the initiative was to shift the goalpost. And instead of seeking a separate bilateral peace agreement between the Palestinians and the Israelis, the whole idea was to seek a regional settlement. Not one between Palestinians and Israelis alone, not one between countries neighboring Israel and Israel alone, but an agreement that would end the Arab-Israeli conflict once and for all between Israel and all 21 Arab states plus the Palestinians. The idea was simple, that the Arabs would attempt to address the average Israeli's basic needs for an agreement and provide the Palestinians with a security blanket, if you want, with an umbrella, with a cover that would have the Palestinians sign an agreement without the fear that in doing so they would be labeled as traitors by their fellow Arabs. And for Israelis, the idea of the initiative was to provide an equal cover, so that in return for compromises that for Israelis were very painful, Israelis would feel confident that in return for these compromises, they're not getting an agreement with the Palestinians or even half the Palestinians, but an agreement with the whole Arab world. And so there were basically four basic offers that the Arab Peace Initiative gave to Israel. One is a collective peace agreement between Israel, once again, and every single Arab country, those that had territorial claims with Israel and those that did not. Collective security guarantees, not again between Israel and the Palestinians, but between Israel and all Arab states, and I will dare say, making the disarming of Hamas and Hezbollah an Arab responsibility rather than an Israeli one. In other words, Arabs were promising Israel collective security guarantees with all that it implies in return for an agreement. The third offer was an end to all claims, an end to the conflict. No more claims on anything beyond the West Bank and Gaza. No claim of Haifa, no claim of Jaffa, no claim of any of pre-1948 Palestine, which was clearly stated in the initiative. And the fourth, and in my view the most important, but unfortunately it was taken by Israel in a very negative light, is an agreed solution to the refugee problem. An agreed solution making it very clear that Arabs had no intention of bringing back 4 or 5 million Palestinians into Israel proper. We all know what happened, of course, and I think there is enough blame to be shared by all. We had suicide bombings right at the beginning of when the peace initiative was adopted. We had an Israeli government that, in my opinion, was not interested in any agreement, that went beyond an interim solution for an indefinite period of time under ex-Prime Minister Sharon. And so the Israeli government basically almost ignored the Arab Peace Initiative totally. We had Arab states who put forward a very bold agreement, but were less than bold in marketing the agreement either to the international community or to Israel proper, and lost, I think, a very golden opportunity to do so. And we had a US administration whose eyes was on Iraq, not on the peace process, and who, at best, gave the Arab Peace Initiative lip service. So that's how the Arab Peace Initiative was born. Fast forward to today. Where are we today, and where is the Arab Peace Initiative today? On the positive side, I think that the Arab Peace Initiative has shown a resilience that so far has seen no Arab country withdraw its signature from the Arab Peace Initiative. Despite all the political problems, despite all the negotiations, the problems in negotiations, despite two wars, one on Gaza and one on Lebanon, no Arab country said we are no longer going to subscribe to the Arab Peace Initiative. And I don't think that is something to be underestimated. On the other hand, I also want to be realistic and say the Arab Peace Initiative cannot be expected to have an indefinite lifetime. And in my view, we are coming close to the time when the Arab Peace Initiative will sort of exhaust its possibilities. Why? Because of two reasons. One is biological. The one person who held the Arab Peace Initiative together was extremely instrumental in its passing unanimously, is King Abdullah of Saudi Arabia. He is the last Arab leader of any stature to keep the Arab Peace Initiative together. King Abdullah today is at least 88 years old. If he leaves the scene, once he leaves the scene, I think it will be very difficult for any other Arab leader to argue or to be able to keep it together. And the other, of course, problem is I lost my train of thought. The other problem is the Arab uprisings, of course. Can you imagine the Syrians today being worried about the Arab Peace Initiative? Can you imagine any Arab country today worried about peace with Israel when they have their own challenges to take care of? And in the context of the Arab uprisings, where I think people are justifiably focused on other issues, something like the Arab Peace Initiative is going to be very difficult to advance if it is coupled with a serious international will led by the United States to put together on the table a package and get a peace agreement now. Conventional wisdom in many parts of this town, including where we stand today, and in Israel by the Israeli government, tells you that this is not the time to have a peace agreement, because Arab uprisings are going on, because the region is in flux, and that it is better to wait until the dust settles before we reach an agreement. Well, I have news for you. The dust never settles on the right side if you don't take a proactive stand so that it settles on the right side. And I think that Israel's fear of a hostile neighborhood is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy if there is no movement today on an agreement before the dust settles and before the Arab world will become indeed extremely critical of an occupation that has gone on for the last, 43 years or 45 years, in fact. I don't want to declare the death of the Arab Peace Initiative, and I'm not sure anybody will. But it's not important whether I declare it dead or not. It's important what is going on the ground. And if we are going to have a two-state solution today, I think the time has come to put in place a regional settlement based on the Arab Peace Initiative that, in my view, as an Arab, addresses satisfactorily not just the needs of Arabs, but also the needs of Israelis. Thank you.